There's a myth that I've grown up with, that the European war in the spring of 1945, after the Battle of the Bulge, the winter and the spring, was anticlimactic, that the Germans basically just surrendered, and after they spent their efforts trying to repel the invasion at D-Day, and then one last splurge of an offense in the Battle of the Bulge, that they basically folded. Nothing could be further from the truth, as is illustrated in a wonderful, page-turning thriller of a history book called Guns at Last Light by Rich Atkinson. The fact is that the German resistance, once we crossed the Rhine into Germany, was horrific. There were some units that surrendered, and there were some that ran away, but the Allies lost more soldiers in April of 1945, 1 month before Hitler committed suicide, than in June of 1944, when they stormed out the beach at Omaha and fought in Normandy. More men. About 80,000 deaths, American combat deaths, took place in Europe in that horrific year between D-Day and the surrender, American combat deaths. And it was a bloody, terrible period, a difficult slog, because the German resistance was stiff, it didn't just fold, and they fought like hell. It began when, after D-Day, everybody breathed a sigh of relief because we had landed. We went into the hedgerow country in Normandy, and those are these high hedges that are taller than a man, and you can't see through them, and you can't see over them, and you can't see around them. And the fields in Normandy are pockmarked with these hedgerows, and we found it an impossible field to fight in. You had to go bit by bit by bit and destroy all the German fortifications, and it was very hard to do. We ultimately couldn't do it, and what we decided to do was a massive saturation carpet bombing centered on the town of Saint-Lô, L-O, right in the middle of this region, where we literally obliterated everything in massive, massive bombing concentrated in a very small area. And then we were able to walk through and come back and envelop the Germans who were still fighting at the beachhead. Then we splurged and decided to go for a quick knockout of Germany by conquering Holland and then going across to Berlin. But that was an ill-conceived effort by Montgomery, called Market Garden. It's commemorated in the movie A Bridge Too Far, and it was an abject failure by the Allies. Then we worked hard at opening the port of Antwerp, because we needed a port to be able to supply the huge logistical needs of the army in Europe. And we took Antwerp easily enough, but the surrounding area was a vicious, bitter fight that lasted for months before we could finally open the port. Then the Germans hit us with the Battle of the Bulge, where they threw all of their resources, 80% of their fuel production went into the Western Front to try to break out. And barely after containing that, we then crossed the Rhine, and then the real fighting started, with the German resistance, town by town, city by city. When I say town by town, they were really rubble by rubble, because we had destroyed these towns. But read Rich Atkinson's book, Guns at Last Light, and you'll find it just fascinating, and it will debunk a lot of myths we hold about the war. Thanks for watching.